Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my channel Revealing Concepts. In today's class, we would be solving story problems or word problems using substitution method. So let's start. I would be reading out the question for you, and then later on we will see how we are supposed to solve this question. So the question says that the taxi charges in a city consist of fixed charge and charge for the distance covered. For a distance of 10 kilometers, the charge paid is rupees 105, and for a journey of 15 kilometers, the charge paid is rupees 155. What are the fixed charges and charge per kilometer? How much does a person have to pay for traveling a distance of 25 kilometers? So there are two questions involved here. So in order to solve story problems like these using substitution method, we are again going to follow a step-by-step approach only. I would like to tell you that in order to use substitution method, the first requirement is to form the pair of linear equations in two variables. So this is just a word problem. You have to convert the entire information that is given to you into equation form, and we would be doing that. So I would first want to tell you the exact step-by-step process that you would be using in order to solve story problems like this. So the first step, to be very specific, would be determine the two quantities which you are asked to find in the question. So as per the question, there are two quantities which you are asked to calculate. One is the fixed charge and second one is the charge per kilometer. After getting these two quantities, what you're supposed to do is you are supposed to form two equations using the given information and including these two quantities. So after determining the quantities, you're supposed to use those quantities and you're supposed to frame two linear equations in two variables. And once you have got two linear equations in two variables, the third step is to follow the substitution method, which is a four-step process. Now, here in this case, we are not supposed to do the step number 4 of substitution method, that is verification, because here the demand of the question says that find the fixed charges and the charges per kilometers. For the story problem, you won't be solving, or you won't be doing the step number 4, that is the verification ka step. So again, I'll tell you, in a story problem, you're first going to determine two quantities which you are asked to calculate. Step number 2 is framing two equations using these two quantities, and once you get two linear equations in two variables, from step number 3 you're going to follow the normal substitution method that we have seen in the previous videos to get the values of the unknown. Once you have got the unknown ka values, that is basically the solution for your question. Now let's start. We will first understand this entire question part by part and then we would solve it. So here if you see, the question says that taxi charges in a city consists of fixed charge together, means add, with charge for the distance covered. So here can we say that whatever your taxi is going to charge you, right, it consists of two charges. एक तो कोई तो fixed charge है that they would be charging, and the second charge which is there, it is for the distance that you have covered. So these are the two quantities, I would say, whose addition will actually give you the total taxi charge. So one is that how much distance you're going to travel. Depending upon that, some charge is there. And there is one more charge which is a fixed charge. Now that fixed charge is same for everyone. So along with the charge for the distance covered, there is some fixed charge which together, that is when you add them, you would get the taxi charge. So this is how the taxi charge in this problem is used. Now the taxi charge consists of two charges. One is the fixed charge and one is the charge for the distance that you have covered. We would keep the fixed charge as it is, and instead of distance covered, we would be writing something else. And why we are writing this? So that we would be able to frame linear equations in two variables. So for that, I want you to understand one concept. So let's say that cost of one pen is rupees 5. Then cost of 2 pens would be rupees 10. and if I ask you to find the cost of 150 pens, let's say, so in that case what you would be doing is you would be multiplying the total number of pens multiplied by the cost of one pen. So whatever would be the cost of one pen, you would be multiplying with the total number of pens. So let's say if there are n pens, then the cost of n pens in this case would be the total number of pens multiplied by cost of one pen, which is 5. So this would be the cost. Similar kind of logic we would be applying here, since we want to get a general term over here, right? So that it would be applicable for any distance that is covered. That is why I would say that since we here if you see, this is the cost of one pen and this is the total number of pens, right? Total number of pens. So similarly or analogous to this situation, I would say that instead of total number of pens, can I say that total distance covered? And this total distance covered would be multiplied with, now here we had cost of one pen, but in this case we would be having the cost per kilometer. So this is your cost per kilometer, right? So here in the second quantity, wherein you have to actually calculate the total cost for the distance covered, what you would be writing is it would be total distance covered multiplied by the cost per kilometer. So whatever is the cost per kilometer, 1 किलोमीटर ट्रेवल करने के बाद जो भी कॉस्ट होगा, दैट यू आर गोइंग टू मल्टीप्लाई विद द टोटल डिस्टेंस दैट इज कवर्ड, सो दैट आपको वो सेकंड क्वांटिटी विच एक्चुअली फोकसेस ऑन द डिस्टेंस कवर्ड स्पेसिफिक क्वांटिटी, उसका आंसर मिल जाएगा. सो आई होप you all have understood this. If you haven't understood, you can pin down in the comment section and I'll give you the explanation for it. Now, according to the question, there are two quantities which we are supposed to find: fixed charge and the charge per kilometer. In this equation, if you see, we have the fixed charge and the cost per kilometer, or even I can write charge per kilometer, right? So these are the two quantities which we are supposed to find. This is a general equation. Now let's start with the solving part of it. So what I'll be doing is I'll be taking two variables. Here if you see, I have determined two quantities which we are supposed to find. One is the fixed charge and the other one is charge per kilometer. Once I have determined the two quantities which we are supposed to calculate, now I will be taking two variables and assigning each variable with one quantity. So I'll say that let x be the fixed charge and y be the charge per kilometer. Step number 2 is form equations using the given information. Now we are going to use these two lines in order to form two equations. So here they say that for a distance of 10 kilometers, the charge paid is rupees 105. So when the total distance is 10 kilometers, the charge that is paid, that is the taxi charge that is paid, that is 105. We have taken our fixed charge to be x and our charge per kilometer to be y. So according to this condition, they say that if fixed charge is x, if your distance covered, the total distance covered is 10, and if the charge per kilometer is y, then the total taxi charge is 105. So here they are saying for a distance of 10 kilometers, for a distance of 10 kilometers, the charge paid is 105. The total charge that is paid is 105. Now here we don't know what is the fixed charge or what is the charge per kilometer. That is why we have taken x and y. Similarly, we are going to frame next equation for the next part of the sentence, which says that कि जब अभी journey 10 kilometers से 15 kilometers हुई है and the charge has been increased from 105 to 155. So whenever the distance become 15 kilometers, the charge of the taxi becomes 155. So we started with determining the two quantities which we are supposed to find. Then we have taken two variables x and y to be those two quantities respectively, and using those variables and the given conditions we have framed two equations. Now let us solve these two equations using substitution method. So you are going to say that by substitution method. Now let's solve it. Name this as your equation 1, this as your equation 2. Step number 1 में हम equation 1 use करेंगे to get the value of the first variable, that is x. So we will say that x plus 10y equals to 105. So we want to isolation करना है x का. So x would be on this side, that is on the left hand side, and rest everything would be moved on the right hand side. So we get x का value as 105 minus 10y. This is your star. Now comes step number 2, जिसमें magic होगा substitution का, to convert the equation in two variables to equation in one variable. So what we would be doing is substitute star in equation 2. So first you write the equation 2. Wherever there is x, you are going to write 105 minus 10y. Now perform normal your arithmetic operations. These two are the like terms. Minus 10y plus 15y would give you plus 5y equals to 155. Shift 105 on the other side. So that would give you 50, and on this side we have 5y. Now again in step 2 you are using this to get the value of y. Step 2 में equation 2 use करेंगे to get the value of the second variable. So here we get y equals to 50 upon 5, which is y equals to 10. This is the value for y, or you would say this is the charge per kilometer. So the charge per kilometer is rupees 10. तो 1 kilometer travel करने के बाद you are supposed to pay rupees 10, and so on. Now according to step number 3, you are going to use the equation that you have got in step number 1 and the value for y. So what you are going to do is you are going to substitute y equals to 10 in star. So again write down your star, put y as 10. 10 into 10 is 100. 105 minus 100 is 5. So this is your fixed charge. So your fixed charge in this case is rupees 5. Now that you have got the fixed charge as well as the charge per kilometers, we are done with the first part of the question. Now let's move on to the next part. What does the next part of the question says? They say that how much does a person have to pay for traveling a distance of 25 kilometers? Now you have to be very careful. Here they are now asking you कि total taxi charge कितना होगा, because the question says how much does a person have to pay. Now you are supposed to find the total taxi charge a person has to pay for traveling a distance of 25 kilometers. So in this case we are just having the information कि कोई बंदा है जिसने 25 kilometers as in 25 kilometers he has covered or she has covered, and you are supposed to find how much taxi charge would the person have to pay. So for that, what you're going to do is, since you know that 25 is the distance that that person has covered, so now over here in the total distance covered quantity, you're going to write 25. Keep x and y as it is. So write taxi charge for 25 kilometers would be equal to some fixed charge, that is x, plus your total distance traveled multiplied by charge per kilometer. Now we have already calculated the value for x, that is fixed charge, and we have also calculated the charge per kilometer. So instead of x, now you are going to substitute 5, and instead of y you are going to substitute the value 10, because our fixed charge is rupees 5 and our charge per kilometer is rupees 10. So we get 5 plus 250, so that is basically 255. So therefore the person has to pay rupees 255 for traveling 25 kilometers, right? So quickly I'll explain you the problem again. This is a story problem in which you are supposed to identify two quantities which you are supposed to find or which you are supposed to calculate. Once you got those two quantities, which in this case was fixed charge and the charge per kilometers, you have to take those quantities and assign one variables to each of them, that is x and y. अभी ये दोनों quantities use करके आपको equations banane hai with the help of the given information. So whatever information is given to you, you have to use it and frame two linear equations which we have got it. Now this is something which you need to understand it, and I have very well explained using this logic. So if you haven't understood it, rewind or go back and see it once again and try to understand it. Once you've got two equations, try using the substitution method and get the values for x and y. Once you've got the values for x and y, that is where your problem ends. If your question is just to find those two quantities, if something else is asked, you have to solve the problem accordingly. So students, in today's class, we did the solving for a story problem. We would be coming up with more such problems in the upcoming videos. With this, I come to the end of today's class. See you soon in the next video. Thank you.